Hello from Bolivia, North Carolina. Not Bolivia, South America, but Bolivia, North Carolina. That's where Lee and I have moved. And the funny thing about moving here was we were staying in a little house on Oak Island. And of course, we came to Oak Island the week after Hurricane Isaias. So it's quite a bit of devastation from about 39th Street down on Oak Island, the first couple of rows. Hence, there wasn't a whole lot of beach time to be had. And back where we were staying at my cousin's house, there really wasn't anything but trees down and lots and lots and lots of pine needles to be raked and picked up, or pine branches to be moved to the road to be cleared. Hence, my foray into pine needle basket weaving. I can't say that very fast. There were all these pine needles that were everywhere. Branches, green pine needles, brown pine needles, pine cones, everything. And I met a young woman who was doing pine needle basket weaving. She was in Southport. And so we got together one day and she said, "You can YouTube anything. YouTube it. You'll figure it out." So I did. I YouTubed it. And I picked up pine needles all along the road for 3 or 4 days. Took them back to the house, washed them, laid them out, and dried them. I think some of them I even put in the oven to speed up the drying because I didn't have much space. But I ended up with this little group of pine needles. Now, this is probably enough for a good-sized basket, so you know, it takes a lot of pine needles. But I thought I'd give you a little rundown, real quick rundown in this first section as to what you need if you want to do this. You can buy pine needles. Amazon's got them. I'm just too cheap. So, first of all, you need pine straw. You want to pick it up. You want to wash it. You want to dry it. And pine needles come with this little end. And some weavers use this sheath end to make a design, to put them together and to make rows or to make beautiful designs. Me, I don't know how to do that. So I cut off the ends when I get ready to weave. Leave it like this until I'm ready to start. And then I pull 4 or 5 together, get all the sheath ends matched up, scissors, trash can, clip. And this is what I end up weaving with. Now, you weave, this is what we're going to be working on a little later. This is my second or third attempt of weaving. And you're going to weave by inserting pine needles into this gauge, this guide. Now you can buy gauges and guides, beautiful, they're copper, lovely, all different sizes. Me, I'm using drinking straws because I had drinking straws. So I just cut them to length and use those as a guide. So drinking straw, pine needles. These first pieces, I used leftover yarn that I had because I didn't want to spend anything if I was going to hate doing it. So these are some little coasters I made originally. It's yarn and pine needles. That's it. You will need a needle, like a large embroidery needle. I think I had these for a class project for 4th or 5th grade. They don't really have very sharp ends, large eye, so that now that I've advanced to actually purchasing something, I got what's called artificial sinew. It's a wax thread, and it comes in lots and lots of different colors. lots and lots of different colors so you can, make it cute. A quick lesson in the different types of baskets. First of all is my typical basket weaving. This is made out of just basket reed. Basket reed is the inside of a wood product. It's pretty durable. You have to soak it, make it flexible. This is all glued down, but that's reed weaving. Then you have Nantucket cane weaving. This little basket is a little Nantucket basket. They usually have a wooden bottom. They are woven out of the cane, which is the outside of this wood product. It's the bark of this wood product. And that weaving's really, really durable. Very, very tightly done. Arthritic hands, you're going to have them if you do this, but they are durable. They will last forever. And then this is pine needle weaving. These are the 3 types that I'm learning about, or 3 types that I do. So this is the pine needle, done with pine needles, which is basically another wood product. When we get back together in just a few minutes, I will be working on this little button project, and we'll talk about how we got started on that. See you in a minute. Okay, I'm back, and I've been weaving, sadly not as much as I'd like to, but I've been weaving a little bit along, and this is how far I have my project now. And I've made some notes, to keep it short and sweet, as to some things that I've learned in this weaving process. All right, first, I showed you these that I made with yarn and just as a beginning sample. And see, they move. So tight matters. So I've been working with this. I told you I was using the artificial sinew, which has no give in it, yarn did. And this is much less flexible, much more sturdy. So this is going to be the bottom of my basket. And maybe if I can get to it, I'll show you how we come up the edges a little later on in around the table. Let's just make it really short. But one of the points that I don't think I made in the previous video was that we need to add about every stitch, because North Carolina pine needles are not very long. These are long for North Carolina pine needles. So about every stitch, at least every 2 stitches, you need to add pine needles into your gauge. And you add the pine needles into the center of this clump so that they have some kind of support as you push the gauge or the drinking straw a little further along. So adding pine needles, add them to the center of the bunch. The other thing is you're going to have to add to your yarn or your sinew or whatever you're using. And in adding that, now on the back you can see where I've left the little strings hanging out. Now if you look really closely, those knots were made, the knot is actually on the top of this coil of pine needles. And you'd think, well, you don't want that. But the trick is that since it's on the top, when this next coil goes over it, it hides the knot. That's why I left the string so you could see where it is. Now I'm going to turn, this is a knot that I just made, so we're going to turn it over. Voila, no knot on this side. So that's a way of sort of hiding, well, there's my string, but hiding where you've added on. As your project gets bigger, you have to add stitches. Otherwise, your coils get too loose. So you can see I picked at about 7 inches. I was going to add a stitch in between each one. So hopefully that won't be too distracting as you look at the project when it's done, that all of a sudden you have all these other stitches. It's not very pretty right now, but I think that as we go up the sides, it'll sort of disappear. The other thing is, as you're weaving, you're going to have these little pine needle sprouts. I'm going to get really close to the camera. These little pine needle sprouts that just want to stick out. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to go back and fix that? He didn't get in with his stitch. No, watch. Break it off. It just goes away. So don't get, if it starts looking too sprouty, don't worry about it. Just go back and break those off. I think that's it. So I've lost my needle. Here it is. Here it is. Just weaving a couple of stitches so that you can kind of see what that process is. And then, like I said, I'll try to be more diligent about getting up here a couple of hours and working, and so that you can see what the end project is going to look like. When you make this stitch, all right, here's I'm going in, let's see, I'm going on the, what to me feels like the back side of this previous stitch. And then it's going to come out on the other side. So you're actually going diagonally through 2 stitches. You're on the back side of this one and the front side of that one right there. That keeps your stitches from sliding in between your coils. The only place I haven't figured out how to do that is when you add a stitch and you don't have that locking stitch going around, but then pull tight, and I can tell that I need to add pine needles because it's very, very stiff up here, and then it gets all woggy down. So I'm going to grab 2 or 3 needles, flip off the sheath because it makes it easier to insert, and I don't have the design experience. Bunch them up, find the center, slide them in. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 different attempts to get the needles in there, and slide them down as far as they will go. If they go a good long way, that's a good indicator that probably you need to add another one until the mouth of the straw, yeah, there we go, feels as tight at the top as it does at the bottom. And then you're just going to pull that sheath out. See how that's going to lay right there? And again, I'm going in the back side of this stitch into the front side of the other. Keep your thread or your sinew and pull tight. And you've got another stitch. Do you see sort of how they swirl along? Some people really try to keep those straight. And one of these days, if I like this, I will figure that out. But right now, I'm doing really, really well just to get the thing to hold together. So, like I said, it's not really hard. Just takes a little bit of time, strong hands, and YouTube. I hope that you learned something maybe, and can appreciate, if you look at a pine straw basket in the future, you can appreciate the workmanship that went into it and the mathematical skills that were needed to pull these designs together and to understand how to achieve that design. I've attached a little picture of the yellow house that Lee and I are living in, just so you kind of get a picture of where we are. And I'd made a note to Jane that we think it looks like a little yellow pig. So you see if you can find the pig on this house. I hope you all have a great week. It was nice seeing you around the table. If you're ever at the beach, ever at Oak Island, look us up. We'd love to break bread with you. Bye.